have to worry, cause I got plenty of weed, man. You can come and get stoned with me. Every fucking day and every fucking night, I think about the world and how it's turned so shy.
Like Leeds United.
And I need some friends to moan with, so I can share my blues. Jason, Andy, Webby, and Aid on Raconteurs News. Let's get stoned, 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 stoned again. Let's get stoned, 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 stoned again. And if you don't have no money, you don't have to worry, cause I got plenty of weed, man. You can come and get stoned with me. Come on. Let's get stoned, 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 stoned again. Let's get stoned, 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 stoned again. Yeah, let's get really heavy. And if you don't have no money, you don't have to worry, cause I got plenty of weed, man. You can come and get stoned with me. You can come and get stoned with me. That's fun. You can come and get stoned with me. Hello, this is Heath Dweft, and I listen to Raconteurs News.
And good evening. Welcome to Raconteurs News this Monday evening. Just an hour for you tonight. It's been a bit of a busy day, and I've got stuff going on here. But I think it were about time that we got back in touch with you all, because it's been a week. Didn't do last week. I was not feeling very well at all. I was being sick and everything. I think there's a lot of it is anxiety involved as well. So just remember, when I'm doing this, I am absolutely crapping myself. I really am. And in the lead up to it, I can't eat and do well, but it's just, I don't know what it is. I'm just going to have to sort it out. Anyway, God, I've got a bit wheezy and all. Welcome to Raconteurs News. I hope you've had a great week. You're listening to me, Jason Holmes, and I've got my co-host, my esteemed co-host, Paul Webster, with me as usual. Good evening, Paul. How are you, mate?
Hello. Yeah, I'm good, Jason. Thank you. Get in there as always. Just keep going with your head up.
That's it. There's trouble in it. I mean, we've just had this weekend. We've had no end of bollocks, no end of problems. We've got we've had this cold spell, so our boiler decided to pack in. And now we're in the situation where we're waiting for some parts, which we've been phoned today by the insurance. It's insured, so we should get it covered. But we've been phoned by the insurance, say they've got the part and everything, so it's going to be done tomorrow. But at the moment, it's only intermittently going on. You have to reset it, and then it goes on. And it's got this big sticker on it from the other day. They've been out twice already and not been able to fix it. Oh, it's got a big sticker on it that says "Do not use," but the engineer said, "You're all right to use it. It'll be all right." So, if we wake up in the morning and we're dead, then you know what to blame.
In other words, what the engineer said: listen, I know you're thick as fuck. You shouldn't be using it, but it's all right to use it. But I've told you can't use it.
Well, he didn't actually. He never ever said that. He just stuck a sticker on it that said "Do not fucking use, else it'll kill you." And that.
Well, do you know what? One of the articles that I read today, you've just brought up a health and safety thing. I was reading an article, the health and safety executive, right, in Ireland, which if we use the health and safety executive in England, I've been on building sites, Jason, and I've seen a large building site shut with an A4 piece of paper. That's how powerful the health and safety executive is. They are paying €800,000 a day to agency staff rather than employ their own staff full time.
But that's the way everybody is these days, isn't it? I mean,
but what are they doing there? What are they doing there? If they're employing an agency, that is mates, isn't it? That's giving contracts to a company of mates that is going to provide staff, and they're giving them more than likely cheaper labour than full-time staff, which wouldn't have any health benefits, which wouldn't have any pensions. So they are actually wasting money in the justification that they're saving money. This is just a minuscule amount of the lies that we are putting up with. We're listening to all this bullshit about public sector. Police can't have money. NHS can't have money. Fire, prisons, none of them can have any money because we need to make cuts. We've done it so many times, Jason. That underlines it that the health and safety executive is going to waste that kind of money when they could just fix the problem, because these problems aren't meant to be fixed, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, they're not, are they? I mean, if they're using agency staff, most of the time that these people that are making these decisions and are writing these reports and saying we'll probably save the NHS so much money. This is how it would be presented. We'll save the NHS so much money, and we'll be able to do this, and we'll be able to always get the staff and everything. Then they charge them. I mean, agency staff. Look, my missus is a professional, and I know that if she went private and went to an agency, she probably could get about 4 times the salary that she's getting at the moment. She doesn't get she wouldn't get the protections that you get from being employed, but you know, it's there, and that's one of the things that's well, it's fucking up. They've got a private company in to do everything.
Well, that's exactly it. And I mentioned it on the show before. Local council, to me, Wigan Council sold Ashton's Town Hall to a private company for £1 because they believed that it would cost them too much money to demolish the town hall and build the new infrastructure themselves. So they sell the building and the land off to a private contractor who demolishes it for them, then builds the infrastructure for them, but is then going to rent it to them.
Yeah.
And you know, this is about land grab, property grab. People have got to, you know, I keep saying it so many times, that line has to be drawn. Until they get punched in the face and kicked in the bollocks, it's not going to happen. I'm meeting a councillor, local councillor, on Wednesday for a chat. And, you know, get your bingo ready, because I mentioned him about Andy Bastard. And okay. I said I wanted a man of integrity who's going to actually talk to his people and his constituents. Are you that kind of man? And he said it wasn't hard to have more integrity than Andy Burnham. So I said, well, I've got this. This is the information I wanted to present to him, and this is the position that I know what we're in. And this was like just after Christmas. This was about 4th, 5th of January. And he said, that is really interesting. I need to talk to you about it. So we've made arrangements, and we'll take it from here on Wednesday, because for me, the local levels, Jason, you've got to start shaking the trees at the local levels and let this fruit start bouncing around the floor, because people understand about a debt-based economy. They actually get an understanding of it, but when they get stuck is about money. They can't differentiate between that piece of paper, a promise, and real money. And I think that's going to be like the next step. I'm hopefully going to start doing talks in my local area, and I've got to ask people to, when they come to these talks, is suspend what they believe they know to be true, and try and hold two thoughts. What they've believed in, just try and hold that thought without the belief, and bring something else in alongside, because your parents, your ancestors, and your kids have all been raped, and they're going to continue, and you're going to sell them down the river. It's not like people aren't warning other people about this now. It's not like the information isn't there like it used to be. It's there. Everybody can go and find it out.
I suppose what you could do, I mean, you could equate that to somebody who smokes. Everybody knows that smoking is bad for you, right? Everybody. I smoke. I know it's bad for me, and but I still do it. And this is what people. This is the sort of mentality. This is the sort of I wouldn't say mentality, but I say the conditioning that we've received, and it's almost as if they tell you one thing, and then in the next breath they tell you to not do one thing, and then in the next breath they're telling you to do it.
Yeah,
I mean the amount of, take smoking for example. The amount of kids that I know, I've got a 18-year-old stepson and a 21-year-old daughter, and they vape. Now, my stepson's never smoked. He's just gone straight onto vaping. And so it's like it almost appears to be another trap that people are getting cornered into.
Definitely. I mean, I think we're my town now. I think we must be on in my town centre. We're on at least 8 vape shops. There's a big vape shop just about open now. And do you know what, Jason? I walk past these vape shops and there's people in there trying different vapes, different flavors. They've got the kids in there in the proms, and the state of the windows, the stains on the window glass on the inside of that shop. You're thinking, that's your kid in there. It's all right, you pumping all this shit into you, but you're actually allowing your child to passively vape. And is that a belief because you believe vapes aren't as dangerous as smoking? Because that's a dangerous trap. We still don't know about vapes.
No, not until it's been around for 10, 15, 20 years. Then we're going to find out, aren't we?
Yeah, 10, 15, 50 years where they've already told us that smoking was great for us. You know, I mean, I remember my nan saying that smoking got rid of flu. It killed all the germs. You know, people actually believed that would work, and maybe some extent or on some level it may have some bearing. But everything that had been told that was good for us has slowly turned that it's not good for us. Sugar, number one, it's terrible for you. Yeah, it's promoted. And then they say, oh, no, do you know what? We're going to do you all a favor. We'll take all this sugar out and we'll put this sweetener stuff in. Then you start looking at where all this stuff comes from. And then when you start finding it out and you mention it to people, they don't believe you. And they will not go and look because it doesn't affect their life. I know people who will justify putting sweeteners in the tea. And I say, you know that your body will only break that down to formaldehyde and then store it in your fat cells, don't you? Because it can't get rid of it. Oh, well, at least I'll look this good when I'm dead. So there's cognitive dissonance everywhere, and you can't get people to look at truth. So it comes back to what we said this time last year, Jason, when I started doing the show with you and Andy. Even if we sit here and talk to each other, we've got to at least keep that sane dialogue going, because you do get it kind of maybe gets sucked into an echo chamber. You could, you know, if you're only talking to people who are like-minded, you could get sucked into an echo chamber. But I invite people to come and tell me, show me where I'm wrong, show me what path I need to look at that maybe take me to the correct solution. I may be quite there, but then maybe not quite. So it's getting to that.
Sorry, I'm sorry, mate. I didn't mean to walk off. I was just looking for something. Yeah, completely agree with you, mate. Listen, let's have a see who's in the chat room tonight. We've got Amanda Jane's in there. Good evening, Amanda Jane. I think she's the lady that listens to us, that lives not far from me. I'll be sending you an email in the next couple of days. Steve Owens, Dinny's in there. Society of the Spectacle, New Being, Super Leads obviously behind, just under New Being, so that makes sense. Sega Saturn and Dot as well. Paula B, Reality Chat. There is plenty of people in the chat room. If you're in there, sign into your YouTube account and you'll be able to join in the chat. Someone did send me a message asking how they could join in the chat, so and said they love the show as well. So we are getting to say how this is the first time since me and you last week, since we put the laptops down after we'd finished the show on Monday. This is the first time that we've really spoke. Yeah. So, this is not some sort of slick operation. We're not the Richie Allen show or the Alex Jones show or the David Icke show or the God knows who show. It really is. It's just put together. If we turn up, we turn up, don't we? It's a little bit like that. We do try to keep some order.
It'd be great, Jason, if we could have like that kind of production type stuff. But when there's two of us and we're trying to get things to talk about and fit in work or life as well, it gets too difficult. If I could do this full time, then you could really get your teeth into it. I could learn graphics, I could learn all kinds of stuff. I just haven't got the time, because when I've got me downtime, if I'm not doing researching on little projects, I mean, we've got like there's about 6 cases that we're all working on together. We're trying to meet up once a week and throw all these ideas about, because we're actually putting documents together, because a lot of people have done a lot of stuff towards bills, towards council tax and stuff like that. And it's because everybody's gone off. Some have gone off half-cocked, so it's given the legislators a bit of ammunition, because they can go, look at what they used there. Let's change this. Let's put this regulation in. Let's put that in front of them and let's see what they do with it. So it's like you find a path, and then all of a sudden they go, they've made a mistake, boom, and they cut you off from it. So what we did was we said we'd have to go back to the start, because it would be like, say, for instance, Jason, I don't even bother going to the council and saying, I don't believe that I'm liable for council tax. Say I jump straight to Europe and then summons the council to that court. Well, all they're going to do is say, he's not given us a chance. He's not contacted us. We might have been able to sort this error out. And the court would just say, get back to England and sort this out. So you start off at the council, they fob you off. You go to the valuations tribunal, they fob you off. You go to the tribunal hearing for oral hearing. That's how we start off. So we give the council and we give the valuations office agency every opportunity to rectify the error that we believe that they've made, and then we'll take it from there. And even this week I had somebody who's always had a little prod, but somebody had a little prod the other day to want information and want links. And it's about looking for yourself. All the information was there, the name of the section and the legislation was all there, yet somebody wanted me to go and find it, copy and paste a link for them. We've had that conversation before, haven't we, Jason? How people say, is there any links? Go and fucking look. Stop waiting on people.
Yeah, go and look and find out for yourself. Yeah, I had a message today from somebody who listens to the show. I'm not going to mention his name, but he's had quite a bad experience, and I think he's about to write a song about it. But I sent you the information that he wanted. Stuff, what he wanted your advice on. Now, what this Northampton County Court thing? How do they get away with that? Because it's not even a court, is it? It's a business centre.
It is. It's a business centre with no solicitors, nobody legally trained, and no judges. What they're basically doing is they're pouring it through a business centre, which tells you it's all about business negotiations. So they're just using legislation that governs business. If you haven't got business with these people, it isn't applicable. But they are getting alleged CCJs put against people that affects people's credit. Now, that if that is an issue, I mean, what we were talking about was that should never have got to this stage, because employees are exempt from parking there. So for me, Jason, that the club is liable. If they're now saying that you've got a CCJ, that this guy's got a CCJ, he's going to have to address it because he'll have to get it wiped if he lives in credit. Mm-hmm. That's the beauty of the scam, because they can affect your credit without any evidence. They can take property without any evidence. It's a county court stamp. That's what the land registry told me. We don't need signatures from parties. We need a county court stamp, and we will just transfer all titles. That is business. That is not owning land. That is not owning property. That is owning titles. And that is why this system does not allow any man and woman to own land or property. They can own titles because a business can own a title to a property, but the bricks, the land, is not owned. It's got to be claimed by a man. That is difficult to find out, because I know people now who are trying to get the allodial title from land registry. They're not wanting to help. They're not wanting to help people, because if you get that allodial title, that is like, oh, you want my house? Yes. Well, you can't compulsory purchase. I own it. So give me 6 figures, give me 7 figures, and you can have it. If not, I'll stay where I am, because that is that man's castle. We don't have castles anymore. We have tenancy agreements.
Yeah, we have castles in the sky. That's everything else. It's pie in the sky.
Yeah.
Also, I wanted to touch on while we're around this. I see that Ben Gilroy's been released today.
Yes, he has. He's on bail.
Give us some update on that, because I've really not been paying much attention.
To be fair, there hasn't much come out. I briefly contacted Ben's wife and just asked, look, because Ben's been on the show.
Still all right to come round tonight? Is that what you said?
No, but I said if you've got any news, let us know as soon as you can, and we'll put it out on Raconteurs, because obviously Ben's been on the show a couple of times. And then one of the lads in Ireland went live earlier on today and said that, and it showed Ben being presented at the court and going in the court. And then the next thing I know, that Jim Core from the Cause has posted that Ben's been given bail, and it'll continue at tomorrow at 2 o'clock. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting now, because you know, it's right there. It's right there for people to want to do something about this. And as Ben has said himself many a time, I've spoken with Anthony Carlin and the other Irish lads and girls. They can't believe what has happened to the Irish people, because they know that they would have been up in arms and fighting over a lot less than this 30, 40, 50 years ago. And yet there's an acceptance, there's a tolerance, and then you've got all that non-agenda that isn't being pushed, promoting all this tolerance. You know, you must accept that a baby can, about to be birthed, the woman's dilating and we can still abort it. You must accept that. And the world's gone, mate. It's
fucking nuts, isn't it? They can even abort right in New York, I think, New York State. I don't know how many other states in America, but
if the woman's dilated, if the woman's dilated and she's about to give birth, they can still abort then. I've just, you know, I've seen videos. A lot of people, I do tend to refrain from posting the amount of videos that do come through my news feed about it, but I've seen articles where babies have been delivered and it's not, they have not been aborted. They're in a dish on a table and they've been left 40, 50 minutes, and that baby is fighting for its life. There's got to be a better way than doing this. I know of all the arguments, but there's got to be a better way than that, Jason.
Well, you would have thought so, and you would have thought if we claim we're you know, we're civilized, we're a civilized society, and yet we treat people routinely. People treat other people like shit. I mean, if you talk about council workers, if I were a council worker and someone, let's just say I wanted them to, you know, perhaps work on bins or do something. I'm just a general. There's one who lives across the road from us. He's a right fucking wanker, but he's a nice enough bloke. But he's a complete and utter fucking bell end. But you know, we've got ordinary people. These are ordinary people that are working in councils, and they're told to go out into the street, into the city centres, and take tents and sleeping bags from homeless people. And then we've got homeless people dying, and everyone's all up in arms and all saying, yeah, oh, this is terrible, this is terrible. And there are people trying to do something, but the pressure upon government to do something is whenever there's any pressure on government about anything, you know, it'll be, oh, it's this yellow vest movement, no, it's this, or it's that, or it's the other, and it's compartmentalized into an area where you can then attach. You're worried about the amount of people that are homeless in your area. You went out and you you demonstrated and you wore a yellow vest. So you're with those racist, Brexit, anti-foreigners, and you're lumped in with them.
Yeah.
You know, you're lumped in with people that don't fucking really exist. They've all been taken from different areas and have got different concerns about different subjects, and they've been lumped into this one demographic.
Yeah, well, if you look at it this way, I can put a yellow vest on and stand next to Dave Sumner, and I'll be considered far right. And then I'll go and stand next to somebody else, and I'll be considered far left because I've got the same yellow vest on. Yet nobody's approached me and said, Webby, what do you think of this? What's your opinion on it? It's everybody is being lumped into a group. Everybody's got to be in a group. I don't do group politics. I don't identify as part of a group. I'm a man who's been bitch slapped and fucked about for 10 years to the point where I've realised that fucking about 95 to 98% of all the information I've been given is possibly, if it's not completely false, Jason, it's littered with lies and truth. And I've got to start from scratch and try and piece this stuff together, because you've got people who accept things as fact. And they'll say it to me, and I'm going, are you fucking mad? How can you even think that? Look at this. And they'll go, well, yeah, but. Yeah, and that's the cement that holds the system together. Yeah, if you think about the system as a brick wall, the cement is in there, and that cement is the language, and it's phrases like, that's the way it works, or it don't work like, you know, when you say to somebody, that's life.
Hang on, it's somebody who's got this perceived authority of you, and you say, excuse me, but hang on a minute, don't you think it's a bit, it don't work like that. It don't work like that. That's not how it works. What do you mean that's not how it fucking works? Like when I was talking to coppers about Section 26, when they fucking kicked my door in, I was talking to him about Section 26, and I was in this conversation with this bloke's a fucking inspector, and he said, oh no, that's just there to stop corruption within the police force. And I thought, well, what's more corrupt than fucking kicking someone's door in and causing criminal damage? What's more corrupt? Oh no, it's to stop corruption, it's to stop backhanders, it's to do this, it's to do that. Hang on a minute, it's also like when you get somebody whose car's been clamped on the drive, right? So they've got the car's been clamped and it's been clamped on the drive, and you'll go, hang on a minute, you can't clamp it. It's on private property, and they'll say, but if it's the debtor's property, you can do that. But you look for anywhere in the legislation where it says that, and it's not there. So you know, they're using excuses, and they're using bits of legislation that don't even exist, just simply because that's the way that they've done it all the time. And most people that they run into are just shitting themselves because there's a uniform there, and there's a fucking bloke with a card and probably an high-vis vest, and, you know, buck teeth, and a fucking Adam's apple, like a fucking hull of a ship. Sorry, John. But, you know, a hull, fucking great big Adam's apple and no fucking chin, and some. And next to him's the one that identifies as female, is female, but really would prefer not to be. It's the same sort of people. These fucking. And so we need to break those languages. We need to all these things, all these bits of cement that are in between these bricks. This language. That's what we need to remove. We need to remove that, because once there's no cement, it can just be pushed over.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of this ends up at the legislator's doorstep. Well, eventually, anyway. But just going back to that, I remember 2014, 2015. We had a tactical aid unit, Red Key, a door in Manchester, on behalf of bailiffs. And Section 26 was presented to those coppers who completely ignored it. Now, that is not only corruption, that is criminal damage. The police are being used beyond whatever powers they've ever been given.
Ultra vires.
Exactly. So every single one of that tactical aid unit should be serving a custodial. Every single one. And
they put these laws in place and say it's okay, we've protected you from corrupt police officers and shit like that, and then it's never implemented, it's never used. It's selective enforcement.
Yeah, and if you look at it this way, Jason, when Gary Newlove was kicked to death in Warrington, they passed legislation about joint enterprise. So if you were stood there observing that and did nothing, you was as guilty as the man who stamped on him.
Yeah, that's been overturned now, hasn't it? Joint
Oh,
enterprise has been.
oh.
I know it's not, but the joint enterprise itself. But there are people that are still in prison or
Yes.
under joint enterprise laws. But the joint enterprise thing's sort of been discarded. I think at the moment it's been found to be.
They're running away from it, Jason, because the tactical aid unit, the bailiffs, the judiciary, and the solicitors and the banks are all acting in joint enterprise. And that's what they've realised, because dickheads have realised that their joint enterprise legislation also applies to them. Now they've realised that we've realised that, they want rid of joint enterprise, because whether they were a solicitor that just sent a letter out for £14, or you were the judge that found you guilty in the bank's favour, you're all as guilty as each other. And we've got to start prosecuting. When I was at the gas warranty hearing and I presented Section 26 to that copper, you saw the colour drain from his face, and he said, they've never told us anything about this. I said, why would they tell you about it? You may not act like you have just done and breached the peace. He said, I was on public property. I said, you pushed him. You pushed the warrants officer from public onto private property. You put your weight behind him and pushed him through the gate against people who were trying to stop that. That is breach of the peace. That's a 14-year custodial. So and I said, if he takes the prosecution out, you're going. And he said, well, we'll just have to wait and see. And he didn't take the prosecution out. That's what they're stuck with right now. Somebody's going to have to do it. Somebody will do it. Once it's done, that's it.
I also noticed as well, there's been a few people that have been released from long sentences, particularly for murder, who have, Barry George is a big example, who have been gone for compensation and have been denied compensation because, according, the law's been changed. I mean, if your boiler breaks down, someone's going to, you'll be compensated for it, you know. Or if your TV breaks, you buy a TV and it's broken, you'll be compensated for it. But to lose years and years of your life, it doesn't seem to be on theirs. By the way, these are all over convictions that are being quashed through DNA evidence and new evidence that's coming to hand, and yet they're going to court. And let's face it, the court procedure and the whole court case probably cost about 3 or 4 times as much as it would have cost to compensate him to a level that he would have been happy with, or not happy with, but, you know, would have accepted.
Yeah, but they've got to try and find a balance, haven't they? They've got to find the balance of, well, we completely made sure that we sent somebody down so we could shut everything up about Jill Dandor, even though it's not the right fella. And now, yeah, he has been freed and he has been found completely not guilty, but we're not going to admit that we did something wrong or we got it wrong by compensating him. So what can we do about that? Oh, well, look at this new legislation that we've got. You know, somebody's written down on a piece of paper, hey, his name's Barry. He doesn't have compensation. Anybody called Barry? Look, it's here in legislation. This is how childish and how fucking stupid that these people have got to, and they are willing to keep acting blatantly stupid, right in your face. Boris Johnson, has he done anything else but act like a bell end? Because that's what he is. And people go, I like Boris, I think he's funny. He's probably one of the most dangerous fucking men in politics, because people like him, because he's an oaf. He's an absolute bell end. He's one of the dangerous ones. Why people think like this, I'll never know. Putting your faith in a man when anything that's ever let me down, it's man. Man, woman, man. It's only people that let you down.
Perhaps we should have a parliament full of dogs.
Do you know what? They'd at least love you, and they'd be happy to see you.
Yeah, and they're probably write into legislation that 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 you have to smell other people's arses and that. And I think that would probably
get to know each other a bit better.
help people, to help people more integrate within the society. You go up behind somebody and you sniff at their arse and you go, oh, you're from fucking Bangladesh or wherever you think they're from, based upon the smell from the anus. Yeah, Sheffield. Yeah, you're from Sheffield, but yeah, dogs. That's the way forward. I think dogs in government, and
You know what I think, Jason? I don't think that politics can fix this. We've done it forever, and it doesn't work. That's why we still keep doing it, because it doesn't work. That's why they promote it so much. They've got everything covered. It doesn't matter who you vote for, because it's only these parties that actually get to see any kind of media. All right, with a bit more of YouTube and stuff like that, there's a lot of independents. Colin Worrell's one of them who went out there, put his head above the parapet and tried to wake people in Hull up in his local community. He took a fair bit of shit. Everybody does. But, it only gets to that point where people run out of excuses as to why they can't or why they shouldn't do something. And it's fast running out of that, Jason. You're not going to have the chance to say, "Oh, I'm not bothering with that." The lines are being drawn. Which side are you going to be on?
People are going to have to choose at some point, aren't they?
Definitely.
Listen, in the chat room, we've got Super Leeds has asked if we can have a Watson update. Yes, you can have a Watson update. He's transitioned today. He now identifies as a lamp, and he's okay. He's just his old self, really. It's a bit knackered out and that, and he really wants to get that lampshade off his head, but he's doing really great. So in the end, we had to have it done. So much as to me regret, but we had to have it done. And I'm not going to blame anybody, am I, love? No.
Oh well, obviously not.
So there's your Watson update, and if I just do this, you'll be able to see him laid. If I just tilt my laptop just a little bit, there you can see him. He's there with his little lampshade on. Oh, little old Watson. He's doing okay.
Yeah, so he's planning his revenge, mate.
I know he is. I know. Listen, this morning it's another thing that's been giving me anxiety. I woke up this morning at like 5:30, which and I just couldn't get back to sleep. I had to come downstairs and sit with him for a bit and everything. And I've been worried about him, sick about him all day. But thankfully he's okay, and he don't seem to hate me too much. Not at the moment, anyway. But that probably could change. He probably won't hate me at all once he's forgotten what. I mean, do you think they just look down and go, I wonder what used to be there? I'm sure he had something there. He might think it's a Mandela effect.
Next time you get out the bath, he might look at you and go, I used to have a pair of them. I think I'll take his.
Yeah, he is losing his balls in field. Does put there, said he's looking at you with a disappointed look on his wee face. I know he is. Look, please try not to make me feel any more guilty than I already feel, because I'm just one of them people that just I really do. I really do feel guilty about some shit that I do, and I do a lot of shit that I feel guilty about. So please try to be a little bit gentle on me in the chat room. Right, we've got about 19 minutes left before we depart. Like I said, we are having 3 shows this week, and tomorrow night, myself and Webby will be joined by Anne-Marie Carey, Analogical, and Joe Public as well. Joe Public, and I invited him on because I saw him on Facebook that Joe Public had written a post, and apparently he'd become a victim of the Mark Steele and Billy Big Balloons on Facebook. Obviously, nobody's going to turn up and want to nobody's going to turn up and face to face with anybody, not them. So anyway, I thought we'd get Anne Marie Carey was tagged in one of the posts, and it was the time that Joe Public and Anne Marie Carey had no idea of each other. So I invited them both on. I thought you could come on and talk about it, and get some 5G updates as well. So that's what we've got tomorrow night. And then, as I said, we've got on Wednesday. I'm going to do an hour with a guy who's, I've posted the link in the chat room, but he's a very interesting guy. He's very. I listened to an interview that he did with someone else. I don't think he's done any British interviews. But I listened to an interview that he did with somebody else, and he's got quite an interesting theory about the Mandela effect and how we all died in 2012. There were a mass extinction event, and we're all living in our heads, really. So I'll get his. I don't know the full take on it, but I'm sure we'll get that. Well, we will get that on Wednesday night. He'll be joining us from America, and I'm doing it Wednesday simply because. He where he lives. He'd be at work normally at 7 o'clock our time, apart from Wednesdays. So on Wednesday, so I said, okay, we'll do it on Wednesday. So that's what's going to be happening tomorrow. And I know you'll be interested in that and listening back. So you can't make it, can you, on Wednesday?
No, I'm going to meet this councillor and see if I can get something rolling at the local level. You know, there's a few independent councillors that are rattling about here, and they're going to council meetings. And as soon as they raise questions against the Labour-run council, guess what? They're asked to leave as soon as they raise any questions. So I'm going to do my best to throw a few sticks in the spokes of these bastards, because I've had enough of my council raping me and my family. So I'll do my bit. But I will be looking forward to that on Wednesday. I will have a listen to that when I get in, because it's information that. You know, it's information that nobody would even think about talking about. It's stuff, it's information. Look at everything. Why would you not look at everything? Whether it's bullshit or not, you still need to look at it so you know for yourself. Are you happy that somebody else has told you that's rubbish? And you went, yeah, that sounds like rubbish to me. I won't bother investigating. How much information have we missed through the years by doing that? As mad as it sounds, you know, the Mandela effect, I'm presuming that's the kind of stuff that he's going with. There's things that have definitely changed from my timeline. My memory, I've got a great memory.
What's your favourite one that springs to your mind? The first one that springs to your mind?
The first one that's always sprung to mind is Luke, I am your father from Star Wars. It's not, no, I am your father. It was always Luke. I remember it. I had every Star Wars figure 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks in advance before it came out the shops because it was pre-ordered. I was obsessed with those films.
Bet you wish you'd kept them fuckers now, don't you?
I had everything as well. Millennium Falcons coming out my fucking ears and everything. I wish I had. But what I'm saying is I knew that then. And then we go further on. Interview with a vampire, not the. It was always a. I remember it clearly. I remember my ex-wife buying the paperback book. And so I know that something has been manipulated, be it like what people talk about, be it a psyop to try and fuck with people's heads, or something natural that's occurred. Because I'm looking at people who are doing historical research now. Max Egan has thrown his hat into this ring as well about Tartaria. The Tartarians, ever heard of them?
No.
Go and have a look at the Tartarians. Go and have a look at what technology they're talking about having. Go and look at mud floods. I'd never heard about mud floods up until last 6 months or so.
I had one called. I had one a video called Mud Floods, which were from Germany.
I'm not too sure what that means.
From Germany, did he all know? He's over in Germany. Floods. Mud Floods and Mud Floods too.
Yeah. Was the words "ich kommen" involved at all?
God knows, I weren't listening. I had sound right down. There was someone at the door and someone at the kitchen.
How would you know what was going on in the film if you didn't have the sound on, Jason?
I know. Listen, I'm a good lip reader, shall we say? Anyway, what there was something else. Oh yeah, that's for me the Mandela effect. The one that really strikes me is the mirror on the wall. And it's not that now. It's magic mirror on the wall.
Yes.
And I always remember it. And you ask anybody, and they'll say mirror, mirror on the wall.
Everybody.
Mirror. That's the question I was going to ask you. You know why you said you don't know whether it's a psyop or whether it's some sort of shift, some sort of concern that's done or whatever, or whether it's a psyop to see whether they can edit the entire internet and things, you know, stuff. Or you don't know whether it's a time shift, you know, some sort of time shift or so. So which would you think is the most scary out of those two? Which would you say is worse?
Oh, Christ! The way that I'd start to look at it is that if there has been a shift to that, that means that whoever's in control of the present time could actually make some history up and change things. And it doesn't matter where we go back, that timeline would be correct if it is a shift that they're aware of. If it isn't a shift, it's going to take quite a focused push to make sure that everything changes. But you know, why change interview with a vampire to the vampire? Why something so little? Maybe the devil's in the detail. You know, maybe it's to just give us this we don't know type thing. You know,
sang out of tune.
Say it over.
What would you think if I sang it out of tune? Sound right to you?
If you sang out of tune, I'd probably sing out of tune with you, mate, because I can't sing in tune because I don't even know what this tune is.
We'll probably get Ethan to do a bit of singing anyway. If we've got any singing to be done, we'll get Ethan to do that. Right, we've got about 12. We've got 12 minutes left of the hour. We are just doing an hour tonight, remember, here on Raconteurs News. Thanks to everybody who's in the chat room. Good numbers again. Clive Albert's there, Sega Saturn, Paula B. Hello, Paula B. And I hope everyone's having a good time in there and everyone's behaving themselves. Would you stand up and walk out on me? Yeah, that's Super Leeds. Yeah, probably would stand up and walk out on us and go and find himself a young lady somewhere. And in fact, no, it don't have to be a young lady. A lady, any lady, please, for Leeds. Who got beat at the weekend as well, didn't they? 3-0 at home to Norwich. So that was unfortunate for them, but not for everybody else. Don't like Leeds, do we?
Well, apparently, see, I always grew up knowing it as dirty Leeds because they were dirty. They were dirty. So it was always been dirty Leeds. Actually, when Leeds were, you know, back in the Prem and they were doing well, I didn't mind watching Leeds. I thought they had a good team at one time in the 90s there and the noughties. But you know, will they come back up? Is the money involved for all these other clubs now? You know, you just don't. You can't. I can see the arse falling out of football. Bread and circuses are running out, Jason. You know, people are still going, but it's gonna. Once this economy starts to bite, people aren't going to be able to go to watch football matches. This is why I keep trying to tell people, if they're in safe jobs, don't jump out of a job into something that might sound easier, because it's stuff like, you know, stacking shelves or driving and stuff like that. Those jobs will be one of the first lot to go. You're not going to be a customer services advisor, are you? Those jobs will be the first ones to go if anything happens economy-wise. So I just ask people to look at the bigger picture before they do anything, and then you've just got to make your decision. And you know, there's a lot of people who've left jobs that I know, and the hardest part for them was to actually make that step to leave because they wish they'd done it 10 years ago. So I would never say don't. I'd just say be aware. Don't use the excuse I vote for Labour because my dad did. Don't leave a job because somebody else has, because you don't think it's going to be any good. There's a lot of things going to change yet. We can see all the fear mongering and everything that they're pouring out now. I've just seen a BBC panel that had someone called Joe Swinson on, and apparently Kit Malthouse has got a Brexit plan. And this woman said it's basically watching a group of old men who can't operate a smartphone talking about a technology that doesn't exist. What you've just talked about Brexit. We don't need it. We do not need a deal. People are so shit scared that we need this deal.
But is it any wonder when you get we're going to run out of lettuces and we're going to run out of, I think there were one other day where we were going to run out of dildos or something. You know, there were dildos, or Aldi was selling them for £5, but you won't be able to buy them. It's just got to a stage where it's completely ridiculous. Next to be telling us after Brexit, you know. I don't know it. I don't know how much fucking further and how much nuttier and how much stupider. But because what happens is people watch this and they probably think to themselves, "Fucking hell!" But because you know they'll talk about it with a mate at work the next day, and they'll not want to seem out, you know, and go. They'll not want to seem out of the group, the social group at work, you know, particularly relationships at work and things like that. They're important, aren't they? They have to work, otherwise it's just fucking done. So they don't want to appear to be out of that group. So if there's a consensus, and if you say enough shit, people will, and repeat it, people will fucking believe it, and they'll go, well, I don't want it, you know, because what will happen is when we come out of Europe, when they go on another tour, that Meghan Merkel or whatever her fucking name is won't be able to write "You are strong" on a banana, will she? Because there'll be no fucking bananas because we're out of the EU. We were out of it for God knows how long. We were out. They weren't even an EU.
Honestly, Jason, I don't get the mentality other than people are so scared that they want other people to save them all the time. I can't get my head around the fact that what would it be like if in all our counties where we have a lot of green farmland, I mean, I've had some people contact me and say, well, it's not the right type of land. We can't grow this kind of stuff. I wondered that if all the farmers who were being subsidised to not grow actually started to grow what they could grow, could we be well on our way to being self-sufficient, and then with a few trade deals through the World Trade Organization, be self-sufficient, control our own money supply so we're debt-free? Could that actually be a way forward? It sounds better than anything I've heard so far, Jason.
Yeah. Listen, I wanted to read out this from, I've just read in chat room. Stephen Owens has put, and this is sort of going back a bit, but we're nearly at the end of the show anyway. So I wanted to get your take on it. I wanted to find out whether you'd actually watched it. So it says, Steve Owens has put, Jason, if you like Mandela and time travel stuff, check out Trump Time Traveler. Now I've done that already. I don't know if you have, Paul. Have you looked at that? The Trump Time Traveler thing and the amazing the book. I think there's a book that's called somewhat of Baron Trump, and Trump's son is called Baron, and it's about this kid who lives on Wall Street or Fifth Avenue or something like that. And it's really I've watched it. I've
seen the article. I've not watched the documentary, but I've seen the article because it shows Baron Trump's son allegedly years and years ago, and now I've side, but no, I've not watched that.
No, you should do. You should find it. Just have a look. Donald Trump Time Traveler.
Yeah.
I think the story, the book. It's the book that was written in the 1860s or something like that.
Yeah, I remember seeing it.
And it's the some of Baron Trump, and he become. There's so many coincidences in it that I think he becomes president or something like that in this book. And there's Pence. One of his staff is called Pence, which is the same as Vice President. Trump's president, vice president is called Pence. You know, there are so many different things. It's really, really interesting. Now, whether you want to take it completely seriously or you want to just use it for entertainment, it'll work for both. If you're into that sort of thing, and but like you said, it's seeing everything in it and just looking at everything and making sure that for me, I watched it, and I watched it with a bit of a pinch of salt. I watched it with interest. It weren't like I was thinking, Footloose is going to be shit. I'll tell you another one I watched today as well in a bit, but in a minute. But I watched it as entertainment, and as entertainment, it was great. And the amount of the coincidences that were there. And we don't believe in coincidences, do we? I mean, many people say that they don't believe in coincidences. But just to say the point that you were making earlier on, look at everything. I watched a video today that said that were called Space Station ISS Confirmed. I think that's what it was called, ISS Confirmed. Now, this guy was obviously skeptical of the International Space Station. So what he did is he calculated that it would pass over the full moon at a certain time, and he'd video it, and he did. And there is a little dot that goes past that looks like a similar shape to the space station, but he's still not convinced. But you see, I watched that.
You've muted yourself, mate.
I know. It's my space, but I just said a good job at muting myself. I know, because I went, oh bollocks. You know, I don't like to swear on here, don't I? But yeah, he put a lot of other information on that, but he did have to concede that something had gone that could have been had gone into across the moon that was in a similar shape. Making I think he was sort of making the argument that he actually, look, I don't believe it, because NASA lies, and why would you believe somebody that lies all the time? And you got to say they do, don't they? What's your take on NASA? Last 2 minutes, mate.
Anybody who's getting £18 billion or so much a year has got to produce stuff. When they're telling you that they can't produce any pictures, it's all CGI. When they're telling you from 2007 to right up to date now that we can't leave lower Earth's atmosphere, considering that, you know, if I go back on the timeline that I was born in, we went to the moon quite a few times. We've landed there. We've played golf on there. We've done all kinds. Yet we can't do that now. And Donald Petit, an astronaut at NASA, states that the technology that they used to have, they no longer have. They've destroyed it. And it's too painful a process to recreate that with technology that wasn't even as good as my phone.
That's bollocks, isn't it?
It is bollocks. So when we talk about the ISS, like you said, I know people who've said, listen, I know when it's coming, and I've photographed it, I've filmed it. We can go into low Earth orbit. Is it floating around there? Do we go on it, or is it just floating around? Because I know that Tim Peake's done a few green stuff.
Green, yeah.
Yeah, green screen stuff. So when you add all this stuff up, there's discrepancies, and they are known liars, and they were set up under Project Paperclip from the Nazi scientists. There's something not right with all this, wherever you want to look. There's something not right, but people will use cognitive dissonance because it doesn't touch their lives. Guess what? You haven't got a fucking chance anymore, because those lines are being drawn, and it will come to you once and for all. And I'm telling you now, Jason, that microchip will not be going into my body. So that's the final line. What do I do then? I can't trade. I can't do anything. That's what we're told.
Mm. Back to barter system, mate. Well, anyway, like I say, all these really interesting topics. If anybody is getting bored, got nothing to look at, have a look at the Donald Trump time traveler stuff. Have a look at Mandela effect, if that's floats your boat. It seems to have popped up again recently. I don't know whether it's perhaps as a distraction from Yellow Vest and all that sort of thing, and keep people away. But I don't know.
It's never affected the Mandela effect's not affected the Bills of Exchange Act 1882. It's still there.
That's about the only thing it hasn't done. So if you're playing Webingo, don't forget that we'll do it tomorrow. We'll do it tomorrow night. Definitely play Webingo, and don't forget your middle square is free, so you can cover that one up for free. All right, so pop whatever you want in there. Something you think you won't say, and then it'll be free, and you'll get it done anyway. So listen, anyway. that is it for the Airy Cookie Munster warm-up show. He's on at 9 o'clock, I think, tonight. I don't think you were on last week. After I tried, I did find it, yeah. But I was feeling shit and I kept puking up and everything, so I didn't really listen for very long. But yeah, Airy Cookie Munster, all the other people that are going into the chat room, who have their own shows, go and support them. Go and see what they're talking about. It cannot be any worse than what you'll fucking see on the telly. But last word, Webby. We'll see you tomorrow, mate. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I've just read an article that police in Liverpool pulled over a local lad and were amazed to find that the car was taxed, MOT tested and insured. It wasn't stolen. There was no stolen goods or drugs found in it. The driver was sober and he had a full licence and no points. A police spokesman was quoted as saying, "We had no option but to fine him 80 quid for wasting police time."
There you go, for driving around Liverpool in your car. Anyway, listen, guys, we'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for listening and thanks for the support. And if you want to get in touch with us, just leave a comment on the YouTube page. Give us a like as well. That'd be nice. Leave a comment if you've got a question. That's probably the best way that you're going to be able to get to either myself or Paul is through the comments, unless you're on Facebook. On Facebook Messenger, you can try that as well. But often I'm terrible for replying. But if we see it on YouTube, comments, then we can act upon it, and we'll see it probably a lot quicker than at any other time. So we'll see you again tomorrow night. It's Anne-Marie Carey and aka Annie Logical and Joe Public. It should be a swift and lively one, a swift 2 hours, and we'll see you tomorrow, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Take it easy. Don't do a racism.